Did you know that Google officially features publisher success stories? I've analyzed 107 official Google publisher success stories over the past 2 years and found which sites are still performing well and which sites have seen their traffic tank. Why did Google backstab small publishers and penalize its own success stories? Today, I'm going to show you 5 sites that Google still loves and 5 sites that were once featured and praised by Google that are now seeing massive traffic declines. You'll learn the strategies that appear to be working in search today, but honestly, we may never answer the bigger question here. Why did Google penalize its own success stories? Over the last few years, Google has featured hundreds of sites it deemed successful. These are Google AdSense success stories that show small publishers can still make a full-time living creating the content they are passionate about. With all the turmoil recently with Google updates, I thought it would be interesting to see how Google official success stories have fared. I analyzed 107 websites that were featured over the last 2 years. In my analysis, I looked at how much traffic these sites were getting from Google when they were featured and compared it with how much organic traffic the sites are getting today after the helpful content update and the March core update. Now, please note that my study only analyzed the organic traffic from Google. This analysis does not include traffic from other sources like Pinterest, Facebook, Flipboard, or anywhere else. So, how many sites saw their organic traffic increased after getting featured by Google? Out of the 107 sites, 51 sites had traffic increases, while 56 have seen their traffic decline. In other words, 52.3% of sites declined in organic traffic, and 47.7% of sites have seen a traffic increase. Honestly, with all the chatter going on in the SEO industry, I thought the carnage would be even worse, but it's still not good. Over 50% of sites that Google once held up as great examples have now been penalized by the very hand that fed them. First, let's look at 5 examples of sites that saw traffic declines. Then I'll cover 5 sites that are still seeing big traffic increases. Oh, and if you want to get my full spreadsheet with all the data, just go to nichepursuits.com/Google data, and you can get my entire spreadsheet that shows all 107 sites and their traffic stats. Again, that's nichepursuits.com/Google data. All right, here's 5 sites that got penalized. I'll start with the site seeing the smallest traffic decline and end with the site seeing the largest traffic decline. First up is BabySleepSite.com, down nearly 40% since it was featured by Google. All right, so as you can see, the traffic has just been declining over the last couple of years. It wasn't necessarily hit directly from the helpful content update. It's been declining since even before that update has come out, and has just continued to see these dramatic declines in traffic. So overall, I mean, it's a good looking website, but you can see that it really seems to be focused on these very keyword specific articles, right? I mean, right now it seems to be ranking for a very specific kind of keyword type: 13-month-old sleep schedule, 14-month-old sleep schedule, 15-month-old sleep schedule, and a lot of it is just sleep schedule. So I don't know if it like over-targeted specific keywords, went way too niche and tried to target all tons of keywords, and maybe that's some of the reason that it's been declining, but it has lost over 40% of the traffic that it had when it was first featured as a success story by Google. Now, the second site is GardeningHowcom, which has lost approximately 67% of its organic traffic since it was featured. Now, it should also be noted that this site has lost the most overall traffic in real numbers. It's down nearly 3 million organic visitors a month. Ouch. So if you look at the traffic graph here, you can see that it is no longer hitting the seasonal traffic highs. Usually in May and June, it's hitting 7 to 8 million organic visitors a month. And now we are in May and it's only at 1.7 million. So it's down nearly 3 million organic searches a month. Now, I know there's a lot of different things that go on in this industry. In particular, the gardening industry has seen a lot more competition. So other sites are seeing big traffic gains, but Gardening Know-How apparently has been hit pretty hard. the site is still getting 1.7 million organic visitors a month. So it's not like it's all bad, but when you lose that much traffic after getting featured by Google, that does not feel good. I mean, it's a great looking website. They do have a YouTube channel, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They're doing all of these things. And so they are trying to be a larger brand, but they still were certainly hit quite hard. The third site that lost traffic is the discoveriesof.com, and it lost nearly 90% of its traffic. Ouch, 90%. And so if you look at this traffic graph, this is one that absolutely was demolished by the helpful content update. You can just see its traffic fell off a cliff starting roughly around September 2023, and the March core update was not kind to it as well. It's barely hanging on to just under 10,000 organic visitors a month, where it was getting nearly 180,000 organic visitors a month. And again, the types of keywords that it's targeting, at least the types of articles that it's still ranking for, you've got Joshua Tree glamping, 1 week in Portugal, unique things to do in DC. So if we take a look at this site, I mean, it's clearly a travel website that was created by somebody that looks like they've traveled to a lot of these different places. And so I do think that they have some authority. So I can't explain why all their traffic is declined. However, if I look at some of the keywords that they're targeting, right, you start looking at things that are a little bit more generic, that don't take a lot of firsthand expertise, right? Like the ultimate holiday packing list, the only tropical holiday packing list you'll ever need, the best audiobooks for a perfect road trip. So it just feels like they went very broad as I look at a lot of the articles that they're looking at, things that are packing lists and some of the other things that I mentioned that are just quite broad, that doesn't require somebody to have traveled to Portugal really to know about. And so maybe if they had a more narrow niche, maybe they would have fared a little bit better instead of trying to go really, really broad. Okay, the next site up is backyardassist.com, which has essentially lost 100% of its traffic. The site is still indexed in Google, but simply appears to not be ranking for virtually anything. Now, the site itself actually looks pretty good. I mean, it's a nice design, all about backyard pools, patio furniture, retaining walls, landscaping, fire pits. This has a special place in my heart because I did a public case study a few years ago where my niche was essentially backyard games, backyard gear, very similar space. And I can tell you that it looks like they've just gone really broad. I mean, they go everywhere from landscaping to birds, right? Very different expertise is involved with identifying backyard birds versus how to cut your grass and grow your grass properly. So if we look at this traffic graph, it's just absolutely devastating. Now, the only silver lining here is that their site was only at its peak getting about 20 to 22,000 organic visitors a month, but it still hurts. It was hit hard in the helpful content update and then just appears to have been finished off earlier this year, ranking for virtually nothing at this point anymore. So Backyard Assist, an example of a site maybe that you don't want to follow. Now, the fifth site and the one that lost the largest percent of traffic is none other than wealthofgeeks.com. The founder was actually on the Niche Pursuits podcast talking a little bit about this and how to get traffic from Flipboard because, well, they're not getting any traffic from Google anymore. And in fact, their site was completely de-indexed. It was completely removed from Google and has therefore lost 100% of its organic traffic. Now, talk about a backstab. Oof, that just hurts. And if you look at the traffic graph again in Ahrefs, it went from a huge, 600 organic visitors a month to now 0. This one just hurts. As a former featured success story by Google, the site itself looks really good, but I can just tell you, knowing this site, that they are extremely broad. They're not just covering personal finance, which is where I think they started and maybe should have stayed, but they're covering travel, entertainment, everything category from parenting, self-improvement. And, going from, okay, how do you save for a 401k to here's the best movies with Ryan Reynolds in it. Like, that is so different of a subject, and it appears that Wealth of Geeks has been trying to target all of that. I don't know if they used AI content, but it feels like maybe that is a possibility that they did. And again, the founder was on the Niche Pursuits podcast. He's going all in and trying to find other sources of traffic because he is completely removed from the index of Google. So 100% traffic loss is the biggest one. Formerly a featured success story by Google. Okay, now let's try to get a bit more positive here. Despite all of these sites that have seen a major traffic decline, there are sites seeing big traffic increases. In fact, just over 40% of the sites I analyzed saw a traffic increase from Google since they were featured as a publisher success story. Here are just 5 of them. I'll start with a site that saw the smallest traffic increase and end with the largest traffic increase. First is tryhardguides.com, which is increased by 130%. As you can see in Ahrefs, it's gone from getting, almost 2.7 million organic visitors a month now to about 3.7. So it's increased by over 1 million organic visitors a month. Has a very small dip here. Looks like maybe with the March core update, but not too bad. If you look at this site, they cover a lot of gaming news and other things that are going on in the sort of video game industry. And so they're writing and publishing a ton of content. If we go over to Ahrefs here, we can just look at their both organic keywords, and then we can look at their top pages. So there's a lot of different things that they're ranking for, as you can see here. And on the top pages here, I just am looking at the number of articles that they published here in blue. And you can see that they published over 300,000 articles. So they are publishing en masse. They're covering a lot of news. And I suspect that they're probably getting a lot of Google Discover traffic as well. So a very interesting site. The second site that I'll cover here is Pxllight.com, which is increased by 157% since it was featured here. The organic keywords on this site, a lot of things for best shampoo, good shampoo, living in Dubai. So it actually is a little bit of a broad website, but surprisingly, it has just seen this huge traffic increase, primarily in the March core update. I will simply say that it is a smaller website. It's only getting 15 to 16,000 organic visitors a month, but it has increased by over 157%. The third site that I want to feature is iowagirleats.com, which saw traffic increase by 695%. Let that sink in for a second. The traffic has increased nearly 7x. Wow. So if we look at this traffic graph, it has just absolutely exploded since the helpful content update. And even in the March core update, it is still doing okay, although a small dip here. Now nearly getting 2 million organic visitors a month. This is a site, if I was trying to figure out what they did different in the helpful content update than other websites, this would be one to look at because it clearly has a massive increase since the helpful content update came out. It's a great looking website. It's a recipe website which has seen a lot of sites penalized with the helpful content update, but it's a well done website. They're active on social media, YouTube, Pinterest as well. Again, just a website that I would highly recommend you check out if you want to see maybe what types of sites escaped the helpful content update. Now, fourth is bruisedpassports.com, which grew by a whopping 750% since it was featured. Now, this is technically the largest percent increase, but since it's so volatile, I didn't want to finish with this. I do want to show you just one more website. The traffic is up immensely, but it's getting about 50,000 organic visitors a month, whereas before it was getting less than 10,000 organic visitors a month. It is a travel website, so yes, travel websites can do good in all of the updates. And so again, this is one where they feature themselves in lots and lots of pictures. They're showing themselves to have that firsthand experience. And so I do think that is part of the key to why they've increased. The fifth site is melskitchencafe.com. While technically this site didn't have the highest traffic increase, it did increase by over 250% and is up nearly 1 million organic visitors a month since it was featured. So take a look at this website. It's a beautiful website. It's super user-friendly. It's very well done. It is on Mediavine, as you can see, so there are display ads, and it is a recipe website that, is doing well. How good? Well, as you can see, its traffic graph here that in the March core update, it's absolutely exploded to nearly 1 million organic visitors a month. And even in the helpful content update in September of last year is when it saw a huge traffic incline as well. If we look at the organic keywords that it's ranking for, the things you might expect: French bread recipe, strawberry rhubarb pie, sweet and sour chicken, fish taco recipe. I'm getting hungry just reading all of these. So it is doing well for lots of recipe keywords. And so again, if you have a recipe website or just overall want to see a website that has done really well, continuing to explode in traffic, even after all the Google updates, melskitchencafe.com is a good one to analyze. Now, if you want to get the full list of 107 sites that I analyzed and see all the data that I gathered, you can have it all for free. Just go to nichepursuits.com/Google data. Again, that's nichepursuits.com/Google data. Thank you so much for watching this video, and be sure to subscribe to the Niche Pursuits YouTube channel. Thanks again.